Welcome to The Writing Life. In preparation for the show, I was thinking that obviously this is about writing, and so we've talked to novelists and nonfiction writers, and occasionally talked with poets and about poetry. What we haven't really done is read some poetry, and I thought that that would be kind of a fun change. So I asked my friend Lanette Smith, who's a local poet, if she would come and help me out. And so I want to welcome Lanette.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is a curveball. I didn't prepare you for this, but a little devious. What do you have a take on what makes poetry special, or why does it affect people the way it does?
Mm-hmm. I think what makes it special is a way of saying things that you can't say another way.
Okay.
And also challenges people to boil a lot of words down to a small space.
Yeah.
So it's more poignant,
yeah.
if you will. Mm-hmm.
That's very close to the way I would say it. Mm-hmm. I've talked about poetry being distilled language, mm-hmm. and so we have a connection with the lavender industry.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about essential oil.
Yeah.
You know, when you and it's so rich. Then well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. Anyway, let's start off. Would you read some of your work?
I would love to. Thank you again. And I was thinking about what to read, and I think I know one that I'd really like to read here. It's fun to combine words and images together. And
sure.
So this has a photo with it, but it's called The Shyness of the Crown.
Okay.
So I'll define it, and then I'll read it, and then I'll repeat it. But crown shyness, as you may already know, is a phenomenon where you look up, treetops reach closely to each other, but they don't touch. They make a space to share light, so they can grow together and share the light. And so I thought that was pretty fascinating. So this is called The Shyness of the Crown, with thanks to Carly in her garden.
Okay.
Look up. My soul is kin to yours. See how our branches sway together, rooted in same earth and yet distinct, leaves blown by shared breezes, where we neither invade nor avoid. The sacred space between, like sky lungs breathing, that becomes at once your light, mine, and ours.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
Thank you. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was influences, and you sort of referenced maybe because you thank someone, and go a little bit farther in that. What did you see or what did you experience that motivated this?
This was a lot of different things, and anything is poetic fodder, right?
Absolutely.
So I actually wore these earrings. We won't be able to see them necessarily, but they're looking up to the tree tops, right?
Okay.
So a friend gave me these for Christmas one year. And someone commented on them and said, "Oh, those are real pretty." I said, "Yeah." I said, and we started talking about, somebody said, "Oh, you know, that looks like crown shyness." I said, "What's that?"
Oh, I've not heard that term.
I didn't know what it was, and I love new things. I said, "Well, what's crown shyness?" And she's the gardener, and so she told me. And I just kept that in the back of my head while I was working and going about daily life and grocery shopping and thinking about, hard, divisive times that we've been in the last few years. This is a fairly new poem. And I thought, there's a metaphor in here.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me do one. This
Excellent.
and I want to talk about where this came from. And this is all assuming that I can find it. I was thinking about what a memory trigger smell is. Mm-hmm. And so that was part of the impetus. The other part is I read Water for Elephants, and I thought it was interesting that the protagonist is an older fellow and reflecting on his past. Mm-hmm. So I put those two together and came up with Lilac. Sometimes the last one to check my IV at night forgets to shut the window, so that in the morning, before the first one comes to feed and bathe me, the scent of lilac lays about my bed. For that moment I am again a boy, and the lilac I smell is the pale lavender one at the corner of the church. Before I can remember otherwise, it is May, and I recall Aaron, whom I knew not well, but only as the dark-haired girl sitting under the KK of the alphabet border, and who ran in a yellow dress on the asphalt behind our school, laughing bright as sparks from a stirred fire, playing Red Rover with other children, not me, because, as my mother used to say, she didn't know me from a hill of beans. So that was the influence for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've both brought things from favorite poets. Is it time for you to do one, or do you want to do one of your own?
I could, I have to read Hopkins.
Okay.
I have things here, but this is my prized possession if I had to take one book out of my house.
Okay.
I think it would be this one, Gerard Manley Hopkins, 1800s, Jesuit poet and priest. And
Okay.
introduced to me by my mentor, and I just absolutely fell in love.
Yeah.
You
Now, when you say mentor,
Absolutely
was
loved it.
that a teacher? Was that a friend?
Yeah, it was a professor.
Okay.
My British literature professor
Okay.
introduced me, and I mean, you can tell that he would go for walks, over the hills in the UK because of the rhythm and sprung rhythm and whatnot. And I love his poems so much. And I think I actually have this one memorized, but I'm going to do it from, just open it up here.
Sure.
But memorization, I don't know what you think about that, but I think that's kind of a lost art as well. So do you memorize ever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it, but I think you're right. And I wonder if, that would send us in a whole nother direction to
Yeah.
talk about education.
Yeah.
But I think, 100 years ago or more, kids learned Latin and Greek and memorized.
Yeah.
And I think we've kind of lost that.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to do it without looking, but just keep it here.
Okay.
So I'm going to do it from memory. In honor of my grandpa, we used to have memorization,
Oh,
back and
that's-
forth games.
That's wonderful.
So, The Wind Hover by Gerard Manley Hopkins. I caught this morning's minion, kingdom of daylight's dauphin, dappled dawn-drawn falcon in his riding, and of the rolling level steady underneath him air, and striding high there, how he rung upon the rein of a wimpling wing in his ecstasy, then off forth on swing as a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend. The hurl and gliding rebuffed the big wind, and my heart in hiding stirred for a bird, the achieve of, the mastery of the thing. Brute beauty and valor and act, O air pride plume, here buckle, and the fire that breaks from thee then, a billion times more lovely, more dangerous, my chevalier. No wonder of it, sheer plod makes plow down Cillian shine, and blue bleak embers, ah, my dear, gall, fall, and gash, gold vermilion.
Oh, gosh. I was thinking of the tools. I mean, it's a beautiful poem
Yeah.
aside, but the craft of it.
Yeah.
So alliteration
So much.
and rhyme.
So much.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. It gives me
Yeah.
chills.
It has to be, it's so beautiful spoken out loud.
Yeah.
This one, that
Yeah.
particular one.
Right, you know,
Yeah.
it's better than reading it, I think, to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. He's prized.
I was thinking of motivation, because you said the ideas are everywhere. I had a sort of a camera collection,
Cool.
just old cameras, and I was cleaning up, and I was going to donate them to Habitat for Humanity. And I thought, well, I ought to look and see if there maybe is film in one of them. And there was. It was an old camera. In fact, I think it was an old box camera. And so I got the film out. Of course, when I opened the back, it exposed more. I neglected to rewind it. But anyway, I took it out, and I found that there was a place in, I think, Lake Oswego, who would attempt to develop the film.
Oh, wow.
And I sent it to him, and some time passed. I got this back, and they were mostly black squares. But there was one that was sort of vague. And I started, at first I saw a person, an older guy. Eventually emerged from that a woman standing next to him. But it was poor quality, but it was interesting. So that's part of the motivation. The other thing is, my generation had talked a lot about aging, and which made me think that an example I heard was a fellow who was a friend of Clint Eastwood. He was 80 years old, and he had been a director. And he was talking to Clint, and he said, "Oh, to be 70 again." So, and that made me think, whatever, I mean, today, right now, you and I, this is the oldest we've ever been. And we'll never be this young again.
Right.
So this is sort of about...
Starting now.
Yeah, starting now. So this is, those two influences resulted in this poem. This is the couple in the photograph. The woman in the photograph wears a cloche hat and long coat, whose collar is an animal with doll's eyes. She stands square to the camera, holding her purse at her knees, two-handed by its long strap. The man beside her is tall and hatless and turns slightly toward her. His tweed coat is folded over one arm. The other holds her waist. His grin won't be contained. The photo itself, with the courthouse in the background, appears washed too many times. Its lines have gone soft. The image is grainy, as if seen through a window screen. And yet the couple, married just 10 minutes, believe they live in modern times. If asked, they would share their plans for a home, for children, and in the far, far future, they'd say this with a laugh, retirement. What they can't see over the great distance that separates us is they are already dead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and
Wow.
I haven't shared this very much. I think the reaction too often, in my opinion, is that I meant to be shocking or I meant to be clever, but it wasn't that.
No.
Yeah.
This is lovely, actually.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's your turn.
Oh, okay. I think
It's like opening boxes of Christmas.
it is. It's a gift. I think I'll do one. I tend to use poems to, nature and deeper things. This one is a little on the, I would say a little bit on the sarcastic side. A little
good.
bit. I mean, so I have some serious ones, but I think a little more. Well, I can't get to that one right now, so let's do a different one. Maybe it's not meant to be. But I wrote one
Luckily,
called...
there's lots.
I know. I wrote one called "So What" or "So Says Who."
Yeah.
And it was about who set the standards, to the
Sure.
world. And so that was kind of an interesting one to write about. So I will instead here, we will do, let's do... This is actually from a different person, but it's so beautiful. This is by Lee Young Lee.
Okay.
And I just think it's absolutely beautiful. This is one that I wish I had written.
Sure.
So this one's called From Blossoms. Just absolutely lovely. From blossoms comes this brown paper bag of peaches we bought from the boy at the bend in the road where we turned toward signs painted peaches. From laden boughs, from hands, from sweet fellowship in the bins, comes nectar at the roadside, succulent peaches we devour, dusty skin and all, comes the familiar dust of summer, dust we eat, oh, to take what we love inside, to carry within us an orchard, to eat not only the skin but the shade, not only the sugar but the days, to hold the fruit in our hands, adore it, then bite into the round jubilance of peach. There are days we live as if death were nowhere in the background. From joy to joy to joy, from wing to wing, from blossom to impossible blossom, to sweet, impossible blossom.
Oh, gosh.
As kind of goes with yours in a way, like that line, days we live as if death were nowhere in the
Absolutely.
background, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so in a way, that goes together. Maybe it's meant to be.
I think we've got a theme going here.
Yeah.
Your sarcastic poem.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, and I hope you can pull it up here.
Yeah.
I was thinking that I believe that that's a cultural change that we're experiencing now as well. And what I mean is, maybe with the internet, not everybody, but you run into people who value their opinion over somebody who that's their area of study. And I think it's maybe that relates to the education that we were talking about. But as if education is worthless, as if somebody who has made it their life's work to study whatever, geology, that somebody else's opinion carries the same weight. And I think it shouldn't. So, well, here we go. This may be age-related as well. And I have to say, where's the camera? I brought, I hope I get to read some work by Ted Kooser. And so he's my favorite poet. Yeah. And this was, if it was inspired by anything, it was inspired by Mr. Kooser, only because I like his style. So there was nothing specific. This is called A Game of Checkers. The grandpa said, "How about a game of checkers?" He'd already set up the board. He knew the boy would say yes. So they sat outside at the corner of the porch, the yellow light above the door a velodrome for mayflies, the night air like skin on their skin. The boy moved his pieces boldly. "Ha," he'd say with each capture. The grandpa smiled and held back, not wanting to win too soon, not wanting to win at all. Instead, what he wanted was to hear the tree frogs calling "I love you" and the crickets sing harmony. He wanted to smell the breeze that meant rain by morning. Most of all, he wanted the boy to take it in, to remember this night and save it for later. So there's our time passing again.
Beautiful. That the velodrome for mayflies is so powerful. That image is so powerful and so unique.
Yeah.
Is that like his style? Is that?
Yeah. To me, Ted Kooser is really accessible. In fact, now what a segue. I did get to interview Kim Stafford.
Yeah.
And one of the things I asked him was about the accessibility of a poem. And where does he draw the line? And I ask that because I have a problem with some of the poets you read. I think they're so, the content is so personal and the expression is so, to me, obscure that to me, there's no meaning.
The communications, gotta communicate, right?
Yeah. Someone said you can speak to impress or speak to inform. And I think that they're, in those cases, speaking to impress, which to me is sort of worthless. Anyway, his answer was he likes to sort of walk up to the line and challenge the reader to bring them, they have to work a little bit, but it's there. And he doesn't want to hide the meaning.
Not too obscure.
Not too obscure, yeah. So,
yeah.
But there you go.
Well, Madeline L'Engle said that if a work, like a work of art or a symphony or a poem or a play, if it doesn't communicate, it's like stillborn. It's like, well, bravo, but you didn't, there it is, that's nice.
What's the point?
It didn't communicate with the reader, it didn't grab them. And other things written in maybe with less bravado really grab you. Like just one line here or just one line there, you know, is really powerful in that way.
I have, again, you trigger so many thoughts. There are musicians, particularly vocalists, singers, who are perfect. And to me, they're unappealing. And there are garage bands that, you know, they miss a note or something. But they have a power and they have a passion and they're just more fun.
They've got soul.
So they've got soul.
They're bringing themselves to the table.
Right. So, and I suspect that music is not really very far from poetry.
Oh, no, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's very much the same.
We talked, in fact, I asked Kim Stafford about because he's a musician as well.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And I actually got the question from a friend knowing that I was going to interview him. But the way I posed it is, should we hold musicians, songwriters, to a higher standard because they have more tools to bring? So a poet just has the words, but a songwriter has the words and the elevation. I was watching a show the other night with my daughter, and she said, this scene with different music would be a different scene. So you've got those two things. Yeah.
We do have one thing going for us, which is the pauses between the words. And a stranger came up to me the other day, actually, and she said, if you want wisdom, she goes, we have lots of information, we have a lot of knowledge, and she looked straight at me, and she said, if you want wisdom, you must listen to the silence between everything.
Sure.
And I was listening to her. It made a lot of sense. And that's the other thing poets have going for them, but I would agree in terms of music. But we have the spaces in between. You know,
sure.
Who is it? Wallace Stevens. What's more powerful, the blackbird singing or just after?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, Lanette, I don't like this a bit, but we're going to run out of time. So how about another one?
All right. Let's do, I can't get to mine, which is actually okay and possibly meant to be, but I do have a favorite here from E.E. Cummings.
Oh, sure.
I love this one so much.
If feelings are first?
What's that?
One of his lines is, if feelings are first?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
He is so wonderful.
Yeah.
I like T.S. Eliot too, but this one from E.E. Cummings, I'm just going to read part of it actually. So I thank you for this most amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. I who have died am alive again today. And this is the sun's birthday. This is the birthday of life and of love and wings, and of the gay, great, happening, illimitably, I can't say that word, illimitably earth. Yeah. How should tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing, any lifted from the no of all nothing, human merely being, doubt, unimaginable you? And this is my favorite. Now the ears of my ears awake, and now the eyes of my eyes are opened.
My gosh.
I love that's my favorite line.
Yeah. You know, you've heard 100 times, you hear but don't listen, and you observe but don't see. Yeah. And I think that's what that is. I'm going to sneak in one from Mr. Kuzer.
Oh, good.
And there's, this is public access television. And so one of the caveats is you're not supposed to promote something.
Oh,
I can't say, rush out and get this book, because, but if you like any of these, this is a good one. I mean, this collection is a good one. Okay. One of the things that I like about this is Mr. Kuzer is male, but the point of view character here is female, and I thought it was just a terrific thing. So the title of this is The Tattooed Lady. Around the smallpox vaccination scar I'd hated since I was a little girl, I had him put this daisy. Then its stem, because the flower looked too spidery without a stem. And then these little leaves. He said to think of it as just a gift for a pretty girl. I went to him that night because my arm was swollen, and I stayed for 20 years. Around the daisy stem, he slowly wound a snake that circled me with swirls of trailer camps and cheap hotels and sideshows. Yet I loved the masterpiece that I became to him. His touch had touched me everywhere. His love is here to see.
Oh, wow. That's a powerful image as well. Wow.
Yeah. And so just to maybe less somber, I wrote this some time ago. My older daughter bought up some property, she and her husband, and you'll learn what I found on there. This title is called D6. Out behind the barn where the ground slopes away and the wild rose starts, the cat is sleeping in the sun, in the grass. or possibly it's dead. It hasn't moved in years. A neighbor said he thought the pony engine might start, but he figured the diesel's sleeves are rusted to the rings. I think so too. I won't disturb it again.
Oh, wow.
So a D6 is a and the cat is a caterpillar.
Yeah.
So that
Wow.
was but I think that probably speaks to subject matter for poems is everywhere. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. We got time for another. You want to do one?
Yeah, let's go to Andrea Gibson. She's actually the current poet laureate of Colorado.
Oh.
And she's dying. I mean, we all are, but she knows it. And I think it gives her work such a poignancy, and it
Sure.
sort of slays me every time I read
Sure.
her work. So try to find one on the shorter side here. But it's called You Better Be Lightning. And she just has such a beautiful way with words, and just, I think there's something about knowing your time is shorter that really compresses everything.
Sure.
And I want to find, like I said, a shorter piece here. One of her pieces is shorter. It's called Wellness Check. In any moment, on any given day, I can measure my wellness by this question. Is my attention on loving, or is my attention on who isn't loving me?
Mm.
She just
Wow.
has a way of summing things up.
Sure.
And the piece that she wrote on the You Better Be Lightning is amazing. Her work just kind of fillets my soul open in a way that I think has to do with brevity of life and her knowing it, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We, well, this has taken a little bit of a dark turn, but because of my age and my people of my generation, we've lost some, and it's more imminent. Maybe that's the wrong word. It's always imminent, but acknowledged, maybe. Yeah. I was thinking of James Michener when you talk about that, because near the end of his life, he got very prolific, and he said that it was like, and I hope I'm saying this correctly because I don't know otherwise, but he said if there is an apple tree dying, and if you drive a metal spike into it, for a time it rejuvenates, and he thought that his acceptance of death was like that spike and rejuvenating him. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It compresses, and the joy, the beauty, the laughter, is compressed.
I wanted to say also the last poem you read is very reminiscent of a hymn that we sing in church. Yeah. And I wouldn't torture you with trying to sing it. I hope I can even recall the words. But it's something about may I seek to love rather than be loved, and understand rather than be understood. And that seems to be the sentiment of this.
St. Francis, right?
I think you're right.
I think it's from the Prayer of St. Francis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm glad you're here. Straighten me right out.
That's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. Yeah, I think that was from the movie Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we've got tons more, but we just don't have time. So, you want to do it again sometime?
Absolutely.
All right.
So
We got way more material here. Okay. There you go. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm Stephen W. Long. This is Lanette Smith, and we'll see you next time on The Writing Life. Bye-bye.